So before you begin the presentation, I'd like to say a big thank you to you for honoring the invitation for this special event. It's actually a forum for us to learn much and also to benefit from those who are actually higher than us in terms of hierarchy. And for the first thing I would like to say is we would like you to share some views with us too as well. But firstly, pardon our environment here. It seems to be quite rainy, so the place looks so a bit darky around. That's around. Yes, so we'd like you to actually share a bit with us concerning your economic career in terms of how you went on from the basics of your education in economics. Can you share a bit with us about your academic career?
Sure, sure. I'll start with that. So as you know, economics is a vast field. It is both like we have been taught in undergrad itself, or probably school. I think you guys might be having economics in school as well. We have been taught like economics is an art as well as a science. So when you start studying economics in your undergrad and like you come to your second year, third year, you get exposed to varied diversified fields of economics. For me personally, I was interested in development economics and international trade theories. So in my third year, while I was doing financial economics on the side, econometrics, I became really interested in using those tools to formulate or implement policy making at the ground level. And economics gives you the basic tools, and it's a very robust degree. It's a very robust degree where you get exposed to, like, there's even branches of environmental economics and feminist economics. So earlier I was giving a talk to a girls college in Delhi. It's a top college, LSR. I was giving a talk there, and those people are very much interested in feminist economics, which is a branch of where you bring in gender theory with behavioral sciences, right? So anybody who is here is interested in policy making and particularly development economics, I would suggest that you start doing internships like in Africa, in India as well. I mean, there are so many international organizations working in your country. I'm pretty sure you have UN and, like, World Bank organizations, like branch offices in Africa. I think you should start with applying and reaching out to people, reaching out to policy experts, much early on in your undergrad itself. My first internship was after I completed my first year of economics at St. Stephen's College, Delhi University. It was with Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog is the think tank of the government of India. So it's called the National Institution for Transforming India. And they have varied verticals, there are economists, engineers working there. So you get exposed to a lot of different fields while working on the same problem, right? And then my second internship was with the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, which is the Ministry of Power in the government of India again. And in the Ministry of Power, I learned how, economists and engineers were working together to formulate climate change policy. So that was really interesting, how engineers were working on the how of it and eco people were working on the policy part of it. Because once you make a product, an energy efficient product in the market, like basic rules of economics, there is demand and supply, right? There's equilibrium and the market. So you need economists to come up with policy proposals to pitch to the private sector as well as the public sector. So I would suggest, like, if you need any help with contacts in, I don't have much contacts in Africa, but I can, like, get you to the right academicians, because this COVID pandemic year was a year of opportunity as well as a year of, like, where there was a great learning process happening. So Commonwealth, I was part of the Commonwealth researchers project. It's called, so if it happens next year, I think you should apply to it. They take master's students, and I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
most of you are still in your undergrad. So
yeah,
probably you can, aspire to do a master's, because once you do your master's in either in economics or public policy, you get exposed to such projects with the Commonwealth Secretariat. Or I actually worked, so it was in collaboration with JET. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's called JET Education Services Africa. It's in South Africa. So if you want to, like, you can check them out because they're into education policy and everything. So I worked with them. So I worked with the Commonwealth Secretariat, and Jet Education was funding the project. It was online. We were researching on the, impact of COVID on education systems, particularly in Africa, because Africa, we were looking at school children who, whose well-being, particularly subjective well-being, was being hampered. While I was talking, I'm just looking at someone's Marilyn, L. Marilyn. Her DP is really nice. Like her picture, it says, "There's no storm that God won't carry you through, no bridge that God won't help." It was just coming. I'm so sorry. I'm
Yeah.
digressing. Like, yeah, I'm looking at it, but really, never give up. I mean, it's really, Marilyn. Like, after this call, I would love to have a chat with you. So it's
Okay.
basically, yeah. Like, no, it's a compliment because my eyes just went on that screen and I was like, wait, have I had a window open on my, screen? But
Mhm.
so never give up. So I think internships, you should never give up, even if you're feeling like you're not getting through the interview process, because it can be rigorous. There are much more policy economists, enthusiasts out there who try to pitch it right before the summer. So don't wait, don't give up, don't wait till the very end to apply. And you can check my LinkedIn. So these are just a few of the most important internships that I've done, but I kept doing, like, I interned with the Ministry of External Affairs during my master's. So External Affairs is a bit more prestigious because it's a foreign ministry, right? They deal with other countries. So they required a master's degree, at least in India. So I mean, I would pitch that while, so I interned with think tanks mostly in my undergrad. So whichever organization is willing to take current undergrads, I think you should, like, and LinkedIn is a great. I was just the other day, I was having a personal chat with Raphael, and I was telling him that, you can use Insta to your advantage. Like, social media can be used
Yeah.
to your advantage. Whereas,
Yeah.
uh, trust me, this advice may seem very, like, social media and like very frivolous in terms of academia, but the Economist, the Wall Street Journal, the Economic Times, everybody has an Insta page, and they keep posting pictures and making it attractive to attract readers, where you can just open the link and go to the article. And I think most of you also heard about this talk and heard about Raphael through LinkedIn, right? So I mean, I would prefer any day LinkedIn over Insta, because Insta gives you a, like, you need to have strong willpower, and as you said, there is no storm that, you never give up. So you need strong willpower to carry forward with, just not scrolling over the frivolous pages and, like, looking at the Economist website. But I would suggest that you at least you start using LinkedIn, connect with seniors, look at organizations. Everybody, Niti Aayog, the ministry has a LinkedIn page. Twitter has less information because of the word count gap, but Twitter is also a good source of information if you are interested in concise tweets. That being said, so this is how I got interested. LinkedIn was recent during masters, because you get bored while writing your thesis, like a 10,000 word thesis, so you go on websites. But I pretty sure I'm like, getting a sense that your undergrad is rigorous. And like, I think this talk show is a great opportunity where I can tell you that there is, like, life beyond economics, and like, you can, and internships also makes you make friends. Like, you get to know more people from varied backgrounds. As I said, while I was working with the Ministry of Power, there were more engineers, more people from the science background. I'm from a commerce and, like, financial economics background. They were more from the how to do the things and how to implement policies, right? So you get to make friends, you get to make, like, time flies. So next time, you would be doing your masters. And I would be happy to answer any personal calls after this talk if you want to know the application process for masters. Like earlier, right after Stephens, I did my masters in public policy, MPP, from St. Xavier's, Bombay. It's an autonomous college. And then I just recently graduated. When Raphael contacted me, I was just, in the middle of my graduation because of the pandemic. I graduated in October 2020. Then I was working on my application, and I have gotten selected to the London School of Economics for my second MSc. It's a 1-year program. It's in international, social, and public policy. So as I said, in undergrad, you need to be clear which branch of economics would you be most suited for. And because LSE has a lot of courses. So if you're a pure finance person, like interested in banking and monetary policy or macroeconomics, I think you should, monetary economics per se. So you should look at, MSc Finance and Economics at LSE, or like aspire for masters in those specialized fields, because for me MA, just pure MA eco, wasn't the thing, you know. I knew after getting exposed to development economics in third year, I'm like, if you're a final year student, you probably must be already reading the Heckscholen model, you know, the international trade theories. I was really interested in the how the global the economics worked. And after the pandemic, it has made much more sense because globalization has gotten countries, you know, closer. So you should, by this time you should be knowing what you want to do further. And I'm not against work experience. You should gain work if, like, you know, master, you don't, you feel exhausted, or you feel like I'm done enough for the, like, you know, 3-4 years undergrad, you should you know, gain work ex. But again, in the field that you feel that you will later on do a master's, or you would pursue or take forward. Some people, you know, I've seen, like, they don't make up their mind in their second year or their final year, and then they go on to do work ex in a completely different field, because eco is, as I said, is a robust degree. It will get you placement wherever and whenever you want. But they go in the banking, and then they come back, and then they're like, oh wait, I think policy suits me better. So I think you should not make that mistake early on. I mean, this is what something, and speak to your seniors. They really help you. I really, since undergrad, I've been in contact with my, I mean, I made friends with my seniors due to society work. And, like, you know, they give you an exposure because they're obviously ahead of you on the learning curve, right? And then they have these experiences. Most of my seniors were in LSC, so I knew after Stephens I wanted a degree from abroad to gain global exposure, international perspective. So I mean, I did Xavier's MPP because it had law also. Law and econ go well hand in hand. But then I was in touch with my seniors from Stephens, so they helped me, like, you know, understand how LSE would work. And I'm yet to go right in September. So just stay, have these connections and networking. In economics also, in behavioral economics, it's a term called, you know, social networks. Build social networks, use nudge theory, nudge your seniors to give you information. I mean, you can really use economics in your real life, you know. Like, you can be a rational thinker and still be rational, but use behavioral economics to effective nudges, you know, to get your work done and, like, you be ahead in your career. So I hope this gives you an overview to how to, like, pursue what you want, because it's very subjective. If Raphael comes to me tomorrow after, like, you know, celebrating after his birthday celebration, and he's like, I might be interested into banking, I might be interested just into finance. So I would suggest to him that either do you want to study finance or do you want to work in finance? Because with an undergrad in economics, he can do either, right? And sometimes in finance, a direct masters won't help. Working workex would help because he'll make mistakes, he'll learn the, you know, the financial system much better. And he could do online courses in stock market and stock markets and all these derivative, financial derivative courses. I would suggest that everybody of you take, you should, you know, use Coursera, EDX, all these platforms, because I was exposed to derivatives in financial economics and I really enjoyed it. I'm going to, you know, use those for my policy making. So yeah, so I mean, this should cover how you should go about, like, you know, in your academic, and any questions I'm willing to answer for the, I think it will take much more than this session for like a, you know, application process. Maybe Raphael can have a different session for how to approach the application cycle, especially during a pandemic, and I would be happy to do it before I go. Now I will, if Raphael, if anybody has questions, they can ask me right now. Then I'll go on the theme of this, you know, talk show, economics of happiness. As I said, eco is so diverse. Like, this is something that I was exposed to in masters after a book. So yeah, like, I'll do the needful ones.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Simran. So, shortly before she continues, if you have a question for her currently, you can just mute yourself and ask a question, or just type on the chat room so we get to read out your question to her. And also, I would like you to know that Ms. Simran is actually a typical researcher. So, any question you actually pose to her right now, she will be able to just give you the main details of the answer she just require. So if you have any questions shortly before she just moves on, you can just bring them forth. But if you'd like to reserve your questions for the ending session, so when she's done with the presentation, then you bring forth your questions. Totally, you can also keep the questions to as well.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm available over mail also. Like, Raphael, I would love for Raphael to share my LinkedIn as well as my mail ID, and you guys can, like, mail me, contact me on WhatsApp, LinkedIn, Insta,
Yeah.
wherever you feel comfortable. and then we can have a personal chat. Okay. So I'll just share my screen. Raphael, did you enable the host? I'll
Okay.
just share my screen. Yeah.
Okay.
While in the middle, I might just stop my video because the share screening becomes more effective. So you can look at the screen, you can hear me talk, and later after the talk, if you have any questions, I'll be right here. Also, your mail IDs you can give to Raphael if
Okay.
you don't want your yeah. And I'll give you the brief and some other notes as well. You can go back and read these things because I might not be able to go into depth, but I have the material and like you can and definitely have a good read over the weekend. So
Yeah.
I'll just share my screen now. Yeah.
Okay. I guess someone has a question for you.
Oh,
Um,
yes,
by
yes,
name,
definitely.
Kofi Silas. Kofi Silas, you can unmute yourself and speak.
All right. Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. I just wanted to
Yeah, you're
ask
welcome.
about something.
Okay.
I really love economics, but sometimes I get confused as to what I should do and how I should go about it. So I really need maybe a mentorship would be okay, just to know how to, really go into economics very well for my well understanding and beneficial stuff. So thank you.
Okay, okay. Yes, so certainly, so today you're privileged to have a mentor to follow, and she's here, Simran Masi, and you can actually follow her on Instagram and also on LinkedIn. I'll send the details to you on the platform, so you get to follow her up and watch a post and everything, and follow up in terms of economic career, and you can even just text her
Yeah,
sometimes
like
on Instagram.
I think, yeah, and one more thing, I think Kofi, you made a really good point that you get exasperated, you get frustrated while studying economics because I had the same feeling in first year, second year because you have a less of a social life and less of social networks than other undergrads, right? Because you are always like there are so many subjects, there are tutorials. I mean, you don't know whether it would help you in your academic career. I mean, how, right? Because it's so vast. Again, once you can either use it to your advantage, it being vast that you can enter any field, or you can
Yeah.
like make it like, oh my god, what am I doing with my life, like am I on the right path? Because still second year I was interested in finance, like I was I took an extra course in financial economics. I actually thought I would do an MBA and work in a private equity firm, or like that's what I had my plans. And they will keep evolving. Economics as a science will also keep evolving, and as an art it will make you go crazy, as you said, like as you pointed out, because economics can be as philosophical as as a normal philosophy thing, because Adam Smith, like the father of economics, was actually a philosopher. He started with philosophy and then he entered. I mean, Amartya Sen was a philosophical economist and he won the Nobel. I mean, eco can really, like really test your patience. But I will just suggest that hang in there, like I did, and I hopefully, this topic, economics of happiness, would I'm emphasizing the word happiness because I wasn't this happy, like this happier person before I started my undergrad. Like I was, like it was really, really crazy. But then economics, this is something which will make you feel that there's a silver lining amidst this chaos. And I'm pretty sure with you undergrads, the pandemic has been even more harder, because I was lucky that I graduated in October 2020 with just my final exams being online. My classes were done till March. I was supposed to graduate in March last year, right? It just took a delay of 6 months, but I'm pretty sure you guys are having it harder because you have online, like as Raphael pointed out, it's a bit, I mean, the environment also plays, and as economists say, I'm pretty sure you heard this joke, like, there are negative externalities. So these are all acting like negative externalities and not positive externalities, and which can really, really bog you down. So I would suggest that, like, as I said, look at, Insta memes on eco, like The Economist, and while like just scrolling it for a half an hour a day, you would find really interesting stuff. Like follow the right pages, right? I mean, follow The Economist, Wall Street Journal, all these Bill and Melinda. There are so many foundations who have, like, incorporated economists these days for the pandemic study of COVID, on education system, health systems, international trade. So just like, I think, keep your social media life to a minimum, but like just try to multitask and do what you really like. I mean, your hobby shouldn't be like, there are a load of books out like behind me, art, I mean, whichever, whatever makes you happy, music, keep these activities, because I'm pretty sure online classes do take a toll on you. So I would say just hang in there. And economics of happiness, these things should give you a bit of, encouragement. And I would suggest you read some thin books on eco, where, so I'll just start with an example, because then I'll show the slide. The book that made me interested in this theme, economics of happiness, is called, I'll write it on the chat box itself, it's on the page also. It's actually called Small is Beautiful. And when I just read the first part of the book, I was like, what do you mean by small here? And like, I mean, small brain, small, what small is beautiful, right? And then the subtitle of the book is, and this should answer all of your queries of why are you doing economics in the first place, right? So the subtitle of the book is Economics as if people, sorry, there's a typo because I'm excited, but as if people mattered. Like, you're doing it either for your own satisfaction or for the greater good. Like in economics, you do read about public goods and merit goods, and you know how education should be treated as a public good, because everybody should benefit from it and nobody should be excluded from it. I mean, that's the very definition of public good, right? And life is full of trade-offs. So after Stephen's economics, I was actually in the same boat, which was sinking, but I gladly got saved. I got a placement though. I got a placement at Ernst and Young. You must have heard. They will come to, I think they go to all colleges and universities. I'm pretty sure it must be like, you must be having a placement season, right? Placement talks and everything. So I did get placed in EY, but then I chose to do masters because I felt that I wasn't ready to work in the corporate sector. I mean, this was also not the corporate sector, but they had a government and public sector division. That's what I'm saying. You need to make sure what you want to do after you get the, a placement, or you go for your higher education. Like right now, I know I want to be a development economist, so it makes sense, to get MPP, get a sense of the law, get a sense of policy. So you need to and these books will help you. So Small is Beautiful, Economics as the People Mattered, is by E.F. Schumacher. And he, like, a brief history about him, and you'll be like, wow, this guy is really diverse, because in the 17th century, he was a Rhodes Scholar. I'm pretty sure all of you undergrads, like eco people, know about Oxford, right? So he was a Rhodes Scholar, but then he went to Burma for retreat or some trip to Burma to conduct primary research, and he got acquainted to Buddhism, and he incorporated this in Buddhist economics. So in the chat box there are like some bullet points. So basically, he used his education, his privilege, and then the term intersectionality comes into place. So he used intersectional factors. Like, I'm pretty sure economics, there's a thing called political economy of things, right? Like there's a political economy, economic environment in which we are. So we don't just get while making policy or while studying economics, we just don't get affected by economics. We get affected by the law, we get affected by political theorists. So basically emphasized on, small technology, small appropriate intermediate technology. I'm pretty sure you all have heard of the Lewis model, the farm to factory sector shift. You must be doing it in, it was in actually in microeconomics, but yeah, so it's a farm to factory shift. You see that, whenever there's growth in the economy, any economy, India, Africa, mainly the developing nations, you see a shift of the labor workforce from the agriculture sector to the services sector, right? And it has happened in Africa, India, all the all the developing nations. So Schumacher basically emphasized on how, while this shift happens in most developing countries, it needs to be made sure that the bottom of the pyramid is taken care of. The bottom of the income pyramid is taken care of, and you don't leave out people in the middle. And even and he also, this also takes us to the Easterlin paradox, and all of this is in my slide. So Easterlin paradox also says it's a paradox because economists can't explain why, even when income variables increase, the happiness doesn't get affected. So there is a problem with the measuring happiness, right, in developed as well as developing countries. So income is, it means, like, econometrics regression, you'll do a correlation and you'll find that income is not a variable which is, like, directly related to happiness. So even if your income levels are high, there might be other factors hampering your well-being, your subjective well-being, your spiritual well-being. So I mean, Easterlin paradox is still a paradox to be explained, and many economists try to get it into policy making. But a lot of countries, so Bhutan, you should check out Bhutan. So Bhutan's king was, he used to spend his time either doing like policy making or there was this traditional dances, and he, after those dances, he felt his happiness level really increased, right? So he made his policymakers come up with the, so Bhutan is actually a country doing really well. I mean, this was like a meme, and oh, how they came up with the national index, but they're actually doing pretty well on all the happiness index parameters. And these days, even from UNDP and OECD, they take out indexes where they rank countries, how happy is your nation, right? So you should really look at the measurement. If someone is interested in the technicality or the measurement part of the validity of the variables, they should look at the gross national happiness index by Bhutan's government. And after this, now recently during the pandemic, people know well-being is going down and well-being and happiness are related. So they are looking at these indexes and making it a part of, even in India, where I live in Delhi, the capital, the Delhi government schools have started a curriculum, on happiness. So we have they have classes on happiness. So it's called the happiness curriculum. You should really research why people, and why are economists spending money and time doing this. They're coming up with variables how to measure it. Policymakers are coming up with curriculums to incorporate in schools, colleges. So it means it does impact you whether you like it or not, and it helps you advance in your career. With this, like a brief background, and it stemmed from, thank you, Kofi, again for your question, because we really get bogged down by what to do and how to do it. I think the way to go about is read a lot, narrow down your focus, and again connect with people who you think can help you. And one more pertinent thing, you can only connect with the right people only if you have narrowed down your focus, and that is something that you can personally do. I mean, I don't know what your focus is. There are a lot of variables in your environment which might not be in mine. So I might not be able to help you narrow down the focus. But once you do it with some, perseverance, I might help you use that focus to get you, connect with the right people, or maybe point you to the right direction, right? But the focus has to come from your end, because you need to decide, reading, after researching, and like as Raphael said, I'm a good stalker also. So after stalking or researching, whatever you call it, you need to narrow down your focus yourself. But with the direction and resources, you can, approach me anytime. And yeah, so I'll just share the, Raphael, is it okay that I take questions now after sharing this thing, so that they have a broader sense of the theme?
Yeah, that would be okay too.
Madam.
Okay.
Hello, Madam Chair.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, please. I just wanted you to also elaborate more on the branches of economics which we can, take more part in. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So you want to know the the jobs, like what all jobs you can get after economics, or
not actually the jobs, but the branches which we can specialize in to know more about the field of economics very well. Maybe the finance side, or the theory part side, yeah, something like that.
Like the field of economics that you could explore, right?
Yeah, I think maybe it makes sense, like development economics and those other aspects of economics as well.
Sure. So this I can even, so after, I think you guys are really interested. So after this, I'll share the brief notes. I'll share, because there's a whole Excel sheet also for the field of economics. So I can actually share stuff with you where you can, some things which you can go through, and for me, I would I would suggest you come to development economics. It's a vast field in itself. We got 13 SDGs of the UNDP. You can choose any sector you like. So development economics, but again, for that, your economics, your data, you should, have some research skills are interesting in this field. So if you're going in the banking or the financial sector, you per se might not be researching, right? But your finance knowledge should be good. But in development economics, you should be able to write, publish, research, and be in academia for a long while before just being a consultant. So, I mean, this is something that, but I'll give you a proper brief, I can give you a proper.
Okay, so please, Madam, Engineer says.
Yes, yes. You were saying something?
Please, how many are there? I mean, the branches.
Yeah, the advantages, like which field will give you what advantages. Okay. So yeah, like, I mean, but it all depends on your interest as well, no, Kofi? Like, which year are you in currently?
100, yeah.
You're in your
Level
second,
100, please. No, first year.
first year. Oh, you're just starting
First
to,
year, please.
okay, you're just starting to
Yes,
learn.
please.
Okay, great. That, so you're studying like microeconomics, macroeconomics. It's just get a lot of information, right?
Yes, please.
Yes, so don't worry, I'll share a note with Raphael and I'll personally have a chat with you and for others also. Like, if you are getting to know what are the advantages you might get after pursuing this degree, I'll because there are some resources publicly available, or the ones that I got from my seniors, I can just share it with you via mail. Is that fine, Raphael and Kofi?
Yeah,
If I
yeah,
share it after?
yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, please.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.